Coming up, big choices for Mayor Johnson on who to lead Chicago public schools and the CTA. A public meeting in Harvey turns chaotic. What got neighbors riled up? And from tariffs to ceasefires to free planes, we've got your weekly Trump wrap. Plus, a Shoeless Joe Jackson history lesson inside a Lake Michigan cruise line, and the latest real estate advice for buyers and sellers. This is your Fox 32 Chicago Week in Review.
A lot on the mayor's plate right now. Decisions on who will lead CPS and the CTA should come any day now. Now, we and others have reported the mayor's pushing for the CTA to approve his chief operating officer, John Robertson, as the new president. Robertson has served multiple mayors, but he has never led a public transit system. Now, while stressing that he hasn't made a final decision, Johnson talked up Robertson's qualifications.
What I'm looking for in a leader is someone who understands not just my values, but what working people across the city want. Someone who understands how to move large systems, and someone who has a deep appreciation and understanding and the usage of public transportation. We have to have reliable, safe, and affordable public transportation in the city of Chicago to continue to grow our economy.
Now, just like CPS, some CTA board members have reportedly said stay in your lane as they believe there should be a thorough nationwide search for a new leader. A group of transit advocates wrote a letter to the mayor telling him to put the brakes on. Today, one of those advocates testified before the CTA board on why.
This means that the Chicago Transit Board, in consultation with Mayor Johnson, should hire a qualified executive search firm to conduct a thorough nationwide search after engaging in robust stakeholder engagement with community, advocates, and CTA advisory committees. This is a standard practice throughout the public transit industry nationwide.
And we'll have the full conversation with Mayor Johnson tonight at 9:30 on Paris on Politics, including why he believes the city might be on track to finish with its lowest murder rate in decades. Dawn, he also talked about the things he thought he could have done better in the first 2 years. So tune in at 9:30 to hear that.
Christopher Clark was not playing any games. He warned attendees in advance if there were any disruptions at tonight's meeting that he would indeed kick everyone out of the meeting, and that's exactly what happened. Take a look at tonight's city council meeting. Harvey residents once again frustrated with Mayor Christopher Clark's practices, calling them, quote, illegal, unfair, and unjust. The room packed with supporters of 2nd Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman. I'll tell you why shortly. Now, during public comments, residents asked for transparency on spending. They complained about water bill increases without notification. They also said their rights to address concerns were being censored. Mayor Clark cleared the packed room about 20 minutes in after someone began clapping.
We cannot have a say-so. We cannot show emotion. We have to sit here and act as if we do not care about anything that anybody says.
You can't have a voice. They don't want you to speak up with the injustice that's happening in the black community. They're displacing us out of our communities. They're taking our homes.
I don't like it. I'll be frank, I don't like it, but what I would like...
You don't like what? What don't you like?
I don't like the fact that there's so much disruption and we're not able to take care of city business.
And take a look at this cell phone video now viral on social media. 2nd Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman being physically removed by Harvey police during a council meeting last month. She says officers bruised her arms in the process. Chapman was trying to address the mayor about a resident's property being sold, but Mayor Clark would not acknowledge her, saying she was out of order. Chapman and her mother were arrested and later charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The alderwoman herself was also charged with battery. Mayor Clark saying she hit the officer during the arrest.
I don't think that it's a good look for an alderperson to, hit law enforcement officers. And I think that that's one of the stories here that need to be taken care of, because the simple fact is what she did. I don't think that she belongs in this position. The bottom line is she's an activist. She wants to be the man and fight against the man. She wants to be the government and fight against the government.
I did not hit an officer, push an officer on my way out of the council. Nobody should have to ingest physical behavior simply for an inquiry. And unfortunately, I digested that. But the bruise has gone away. The memory never will. And I'm simply pushing forward.
And after attendees were put out of the meeting, about 20 minutes past, they were let back in. The meeting resumed for about 30 minutes or so, and then it promptly ended. We will tell you that this is Chapman's second time being arrested, her third time being put out of a meeting because of disorderly conduct claims against her. We do know that Chapman and her supporters are continuing to call for federal investigation into the township's practices, and Mayor Christopher Clark himself.
Hundreds of protesters, many of them immigrants, gathered outside the Supreme Court Thursday, speaking out against President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship.
More than anything else, we believe that if you are in America, you are an American.
Trump wants to deny citizenship to children born in the U.S. whose parents are here illegally. But critics say it's a violation of the 14th Amendment, which states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And some justices do not seem eager to overturn that law.
If I were in your shoes, there is no way I'd approach the Supreme Court with this case.
As far as I see it, this order violates 4 Supreme Court precedents.
But the White House also wants the Supreme Court to rein in federal judges who use sweeping injunctions to block the president's policies, like the birthright citizenship EO. And the justices will have to consider the legality of nationwide injunctions when ruling on this case.
The practical problem is that there are 680 district court judges, and they are dedicated and they are scholarly, and I'm not impugning their motives in any way, but sometimes they're wrong.
This case was fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, and a ruling could come in days or weeks. If the justices rule in President Trump's favor, many of his executive actions that are tied up in court may be allowed to take effect.
Officials with Cook County Hospital are preparing for a $110 million cut to the budget if the state follows through on Governor Pritzker's proposal to eliminate health insurance for undocumented immigrants. Illinois' Latino caucus is urging the governor to reconsider. Cook County Health and Hospitals CEO Eric Makaitis says they will treat undocumented immigrants, insurance or not.
While we were very fortunate for a couple of years to have the funding for this care that we were providing, it's baked into our mission. We are going to continue to care for those populations.
Makaitis says the lack of coverage means the undocumented population will likely forego preventative care, putting a strain on hospitals when they come to the emergency room.
As people lose coverage, we're going to potentially see, instead of managing high blood pressure or diabetes, we're now treating strokes and heart attacks.
C.D. Davidsmeyer and Illinois Republicans say they're glad Governor Pritzker got the message. The state can no longer afford the care, he says, and it has cost upwards of $2 billion already.
These things we certainly cannot afford. We're failing on things like services for developmentally disabled. We're barely making progress on that while we're making promises and finding housing and things like that for individuals who came here illegally.
But Democratic State Senator Graciela Guzman and other members of the Latino caucus are pressuring the governor to reconsider. Guzman says canceling the program could mean life or death for many.
We know that this is life-saving care and that people will die if we don't find a way to continue negotiating in good faith like we have with the governor's office and Health and Family Services.
Guzman says continuing the program is good for the economy, as undocumented workers perform difficult labor and contribute to the tax base.
They work jobs that are hard. They are taxing on the body. And it's one of the reasons that health benefits with immigrant adults is not just a life-saving program. It is essential to keep our essential workers working.
Governor Pritzker's proposal would keep insurance for undocumented seniors over 65. The Cook County Health CEO says they'll make up the funding shortfall with cuts and will be presenting a budget proposal to the county board next month.
John Alexander, an American citizen, receives a hero's welcome after being freed by Hamas. He was taken hostage during the October 7th attacks and held captive for 584 days before being released to the Red Cross on Monday. He's now undergoing medical evaluations and reuniting with his family, while Israel and the U.S. celebrate what both leaders are calling a big win.
He's coming home to his parents, which is really great news.
Alexander was the last living American hostage. Hamas is still holding the remains of 4 others, as well as 20 living Israeli captives. And negotiations are now underway to free them all.
A serious, credible proposal is now on the table, a deal that would bring all of our hostages home.
But that process is not moving fast enough for the families of some of those captives.
The other 58 hostages have no time left. They are in hell.
Hamas claims it released Eidan Alexander to show, quote, flexibility. But there's also a political calculation, with some speculating that the terror group is trying to get the U.S. to disengage in Gaza.
Hamas is trying to peel the United States out of having anything to do with this conflict. So the United States is still going to have to stay involved.
American envoy Steve Witkoff and Adam Bowler are also here in Israel to, among other things, help Alexander with his recovery process.
I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility.
President Trump teasing a possible appearance at peace talks between Ukraine and Russia scheduled for Thursday in Turkey. But it's still not clear if Russian President Vladimir Putin will be there. His Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, is planning to wait in the Turkish capital for Putin to arrive, saying it's his final chance to show he's serious about a ceasefire.
An end to the war is needed, a dignified and just one. Russia talks a lot about direct negotiations, but when it comes down to it, they hide.
These talks are seen as a key moment for the peace process. Negotiators have been working for weeks to set an agenda, but it could all collapse if Putin doesn't show up.
We've already got what we call the term sheet. The term sheet means these are the areas that we think they need to negotiate, they need to talk. And if we can get to this, we can get peace.
But even as the U.S. and European allies try to end the war, both Russia and Ukraine are prepping for summer campaigns on the battlefield. And while the Ukrainian army is thought to be suffering from a lack of new recruits, Putin claims Russia's military is getting 50,000 to 60,000 new volunteers every month.
While the Kyiv authorities are engaged in forced mobilization, catching people on the streets like stray dogs, here our guys go voluntarily.
Zelensky says he's going to meet with Turkey's president and wait for Putin. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is also expected to attend these talks.
Air Force One escorted into Riyadh by Saudi Arabian fighter jets, kicking off President Trump's multi-day tour through the Middle East. On the ground, the president was given an elaborate welcome by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The two leaders signed agreements on energy, defense, and mining. They're expected to discuss a wide range of issues, but this is mainly a business trip. President Trump is focused on securing major investments in the U.S. economy. The Crown Prince has already pledged $600 billion over 4 years, but Trump is asking for $1 trillion.
As you know, we have the biggest business leaders in the world here. They're going to walk away with a lot of checks.
Major business and financial leaders from both nations were also in Riyadh, eager to ink deals. Elon Musk and the heads of firms like IBM, BlackRock, and NVIDIA were in attendance while President Trump addressed the crowd.
The U.S.-Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. Today we reaffirm this important bond, and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever before.
After Saudi Arabia, President Trump plans to travel to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, signing deals with each of them.
Coming up, the controversy over Trump and this plane inside a Lake Michigan cruise line, and the latest real estate advice for buyers and sellers. Paris Shuts takes you behind closed doors.
It's time for the mayor to let folks into his closet.
There's no conflict of interest there at all. Beneath the headlines.
Dalton is showing everyone what it means to be civically engaged.
And beyond the political spin.
Is this a role that you like, going on the attack?
I'm not somebody who looks for conflict, but sometimes the conflict shows up at your door.
Paris on Politics on Fox 32, your weekly wrap-up of the big issues affecting you.
New rule, if you're going to do a show in Chicago, go on Fox.
Fox Local, your smart TV source for streaming Fox 32 News. No antenna, no subscriptions.
Thanks for waking up with us on Good Day Chicago at 7.
Severe weather coverage, special events, and Fox 32 favorites.
Is this a role that you like, kind of going on the attack?
Want Fox 32 on the go? Fox Local is now on mobile. Stream Fox 32 Chicago anywhere and stay up to date with the latest news coverage. Fox 32 on Fox Local, on your smart TV or where you want to be.
To think that Air Force One, where the president is asked to function as our commander-in-chief in a situation room making life or death decisions, is on a plane given to us by a foreign government with 200 miles of wiring in it, is an indication to me of complete recklessness on the part of the president.
The debate over gifts versus bribes comes as President Trump is starting his Middle East trip with a visit to Saudi Arabia. Connor Hansen has the details.
President Trump has his eye on a palace in the sky, a $400 million luxury Boeing 747, currently belonging to the Qatari royal family, which he would use as a temporary Air Force One. The current planes are aging, and the replacements are far behind schedule.
Now, I could be a stupid person and say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane.
But Democrats on Capitol Hill are voicing outrage over the proposed gift.
The Trojan horse was a gift. Air Force One is the Oval Office, it's the press room, it's the Situation Room, all in the air.
The idea brings up a range of ethical, legal, and security concerns. Air Force One is hardened against nuclear blasts, has anti-missile protection, and air-to-air refueling capabilities. Some say combing the Qatari plane for spy technology could take years.
It's a costly, illegal, corrupt boondoggle that will ultimately cost taxpayers billions of dollars.
Even some Republicans say it's not a great idea.
I do think the jet probably sends the wrong signal to people, and I don't like the look or appearance of it.
Qatar's not, in my opinion, a great ally. I mean, they support Hamas, and so what I'm worried about is the safety of the President of the United States.
President Trump will take the current Air Force One to Qatar tomorrow, but there are no plans to leave the country on the Qatari jet.
An executive order signed by President Trump directs drug makers to lower prescription drug costs to match what other countries pay or face consequences. But it's facing pushback from some lawmakers who agree that prices are high, but warn that the move could slow research and innovation.
More people would lose their ability to have affordable drugs that help keep them alive and healthy.
Something the Trump administration denies.
What President Trump is doing is saying enough. Let's have a broader base of support for this research mission.
President Trump tried to lower drug prices with an executive order in his first term, but that was blocked by the courts. Experts say the new policy will likely face its own legal challenges, and if not, it's unclear whether drug makers and other countries will go along with what the president hopes to accomplish.
The real way to make drug prices reform happen is to do what Democrats do and what Donald Trump is loath to do. Roll up your sleeves and do the hard work of passing legislation.
And there's a bipartisan effort to do just that. In February, Senators Chuck Grassley and Maria Cantwell reintroduced two bills that would ban unfair pricing schemes by pharmacy benefit managers, the middlemen drug makers blame for higher costs.
And they now exercise a growing influence on prescription drug supply chain. They determine what medications a patient can use and how much the patient pays at the pharmacy counter.
The White House says it will begin negotiations with drug companies over the next month.
The leaders of the Make America Healthy Again movement are putting a big spotlight on dangerous additives in America's food supply. But even as that effort moves forward, they're also looking ahead to the next challenge, protecting Americans from food imports that may contain some of those banned chemicals. The effort is just ramping up, and it is not clear how enforcement would work. But health officials say the new proposal could go a long way towards eliminating a broad spectrum of illnesses.
We need to act. We need to reduce the amount of sugar in our food.
We need to reduce the amount of chemicals.
And it won't just be focused on food. When banned products are caught entering the U.S., like counterfeit vapes, they're simply returned to the manufacturer, who then reships the product to a different location. It's called port shopping, and the White House wants to close that loophole.
We're taking action to look at confiscating and destroying these products. If another country did this to the United States, as is happening right now, we would say this is an attack.
But Democrats on Capitol Hill are pushing back, claiming Republicans' focus on promoting nutrition and a healthy lifestyle is at odds with their cost-cutting agenda.
Don't tell me you believe in MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and then cut the funding that gets people access to the healthy, fresh food.
MAHA leaders met Friday with the Consumer Brand Association to discuss a potential new ban on petroleum-based food dyes.
Cassie says she was a fan of Diddy's before she ever met him and that he seemed larger than life. But she told jurors today that he eventually controlled every aspect of her life. Cassie, now married with kids and another on the way, says she was 19 when she met Diddy and signed with his record label. He was 36 at that time. She says at first things were private because Diddy had another girlfriend, but at 21, their relationship turned sexual. Cassie became emotional in court when she testified about Diddy introducing her to freak-offs, described by prosecutors as sex performances fueled by drugs with male escorts, and she said Diddy would watch them. Cassie testified they became something she didn't want to do but felt she had to do to keep him happy. Before long, she said freak-offs, not music, became her job, with the longest one lasting 4 days. Cassie also telling jurors Diddy was prone to mood swings and that he got violent with her, quote, too frequently. She says he controlled every aspect of her appearance and punished her if she didn't obey him. Cassie's testimony is key because prosecutors are trying to prove Diddy coerced and trafficked her and other women and exploited them to fuel his sexual desires. Diddy's defense attorneys do acknowledge that these relationships were toxic, but they say he's not guilty of racketeering, sex trafficking, or transporting for prostitution. Now, cameras aren't allowed inside the courtroom, but those inside say Diddy seems charismatic and even happy, but if he's convicted on all charges, he could face life behind bars.
Pope Leo XIV is not wasting any time. The newly elected leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics starting his first week with a meeting of Vatican journalists, urging them to use their words and images to advance the cause of peace.
The way we communicate is of fundamental importance. We must say no to the war of words and images. We must reject the paradigm of war.
And on Monday night, he called Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to offer his support, signaling this pope could be casting himself as a peacemaker.
Pope Leo spoke warm and very important words about Ukraine, about our people, about a just and lasting peace for our country and the return of our people.
He's also reaching out to other faiths, telling the world's Jewish communities he wants to strengthen interfaith dialogue after a souring of relations over the war in Gaza. At the same time, hoping to heal the ideological division in the church between conservatives and reformers.
We cannot avoid all the conflicts, but we have to avoid the not necessary conflicts, superfluous conflicts.
The Pope also suggested the election of an American pontiff could draw more people back to the church.
The people will turn to faith.
With the grace of God, he will be able to unite people from all over the world.
So Pope Leo was born in Chicago and is a lifelong White Sox fan. Sorry to the Chicago Cubs, but the Pope told reporters he doesn't have any plans to be back in the Windy City anytime soon.
The U.S. and China have cut a 90-day deal to slash tariffs, a temporary truce in a trade war that has already hit U.S. ports and threatens to tip the global economy into a recession.
I think it's going to be fantastic for China. I think it's going to be fantastic for us.
The U.S. agreed to drop the 145% tax on Chinese imports to 30%, and China dropped from 125% to 10%. The market soared on the news Monday as the two sides continue negotiations. Administration officials say they'll use the 3-month pause to rebalance trade. Last year, the U.S. bought $295 billion more from China than China bought from the U.S.
We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. We would like to see China open to more U.S. goods.
Some analysts say it's too early to call it a win.
If you look at what Trump is doing, he's blinking. He's stepping things down and claiming victories.
This follows a deal Trump made with the United Kingdom last week. But the overall 10% tariff on imports remains in place for U.S. trading partners, including the U.K., with higher reciprocal tariffs on a number of countries and industries.
They have assessed 10% to 25% tariffs on our allies, the very people that we would need, our friends and allies, in order to deal with China. So to me, they've been approaching this all upside down.
If an agreement isn't reached, the higher tariffs will return in mid-August.
Coming up, a Shoeless Joe Jackson history lesson inside a Lake Michigan cruise line and the latest real estate advice for buyers and sellers. This weekend, kick back and catch up with Fox 32 on Fox Local. Recap the week's must-know news.
A Chicago police officer trying his best to capture this coyote.
Relive Fox 32's best.
Today, I'm taking you on the Chicago water taxi.
Plus the latest political and sports buzz.
Why pick this fight with the governor who you need?
Let's talk about championship weekend.
Watch live or anytime on demand. Weekends at Fox 32 on Fox Local. Download now on these streaming services.
The viewer in the morning really needs to have a good feeling for what it's going to be like for the rest of the day.
I've got 3 kids myself, so I set out their clothes Monday through Friday, which you can do too based on our 7-day forecast. The last thing that you want to have to think about is, what is my kid going to be wearing to school? What do I need in the morning?
Having grown up here, having spent about 30 years in this market predicting the weather, you not only get really familiar with the weather, but with the needs of your audience. And that's what it means to be the Weather Authority.
This is a story that has everything. I mean, it's drama, it's corruption, it's injustice. Every human element is contained in the Black Sox scandal.
I met baseball historians Jacob Pomrenke and David Fletcher at the plate where it happened, marking the site of Old Comiskey Park at 35th and Shields.
It's a really great story about old-time baseball, but it's a really great Chicago story.
Most fans know the basics of the Black Sox story, how the 1919 White Sox, considered the best team in baseball and led by their star outfielder Shoeless Joe Jackson, shocked the sports world, losing the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds.
Hey, what'd you say, Joe? Were you in on it? What's the story?
Which led to the famous supposed courthouse encounter between Jackson and a young fan, as depicted in the movie 8 Men Out.
Joe! Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
But like much of what we think we know about the Black Sox,
that never happened. We actually have film footage of Shoeless Joe leaving the courthouse that day in 1920, and he's flanked by 2 sheriff's deputies, 2 bailiffs, and there's a huge crowd around him, and there's no little boy stopping him.
The case went to trial, and a sympathetic Cook County jury acquitted the 8 players. But the following day, Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, a stern former federal judge in Chicago, banned all 8 from ever again participating in professional baseball. But Jackson, who many consider the greatest natural hitter of all time, had just signed a new 3-year contract.
So he wanted his back pay.
He wanted his money.
He wanted his money.
So Jackson sued White Sox owner Charles Comiskey, and in January of 1924, a trial was held in Milwaukee, because the White Sox were incorporated in Wisconsin. And that leads us to the new information published in David and Jacob's new book.
The trial itself was quite a spectacle. It was a very dramatic trial. It lasted 2 weeks up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and, it was Shoeless Joe having to answer questions about what happened in the 1919 World Series.
But that second trial is long forgotten, in part because the transcripts of all the testimony disappeared. Until now. The court records were almost tossed in the 1950s, but were saved by a Milwaukee attorney and remained hidden away until recently.
Almost nobody on the planet has seen this transcript and seen Shoeless Joe and Charles Comiskey's testimony in their own words until now.
In the new transcripts, Shoeless Joe flatly denies taking the $5,000 offered by gamblers, but other witnesses, including his wife, tell a different story.
His wife saw him get the money. There were big denomination bills. She had to deposit in the local bank December 1st, 1919. They had the bank teller come. They had the bank receipts for like a $5,100 deposit. I mean, they had the goods on him.
The book reprints hundreds of pages of testimony from the key players involved in the fix. Testimony, the historians say, clearly points to Jackson's guilt.
There are a lot of people who still believe that Shoeless Joe had nothing to do with the Black Sox scandal. And, you know, what the research has shown is that he really did. He did take the money. There's no question about that. You know, whether he played his best on the field during the World Series is still up for debate.
Indeed, Jackson hit .375 in that World Series and threw a runner out at home plate. Some believe Jackson didn't understand the conspiracy because he was illiterate, going to work in the South Carolina textile mills at just 7 years old. After the ban, Jackson ran a liquor store in his hometown of Greenville until he died in 1951, maintaining his innocence to the grave. Today, his home is preserved as the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum, and the debate among sports fans continues.
This is a story that continues to stay relevant in the 21st century. You know, we still have World Series scandals these days. We still have, you know, sports betting scandals these days.
It's going to go on forever, and it's just that loss of innocence. I think that's such a key to why it attracts people. It's a bunch of cheaters cheating cheaters, and that's the best way to describe it.
I don't envy these grads. Many of us have been there. I mean, there is anxiety no matter what. Now, I talked to a professor here with Rice University. She tells me what's causing this. There's just a lot of hesitancy right now amongst these different companies as they try to adapt to new trade policy. So at least for now, many of them are hitting the pause button when it comes to hiring, I should say, new employees.
So a lot of employers are thinking, well, maybe I'm going to wait and see if I can get a little bit of certainty or clarity to the future policy, because what they see right now is probably rising costs and lower demand for consumers, and so they decide to hold their investment a little bit later.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York says the unemployment rate for recent grads hit 5.8% in March, about a point off from a year ago. And because the demand for workers is down right now, some new grads are accepting lower salaries for jobs that don't even require their degree. It's fueling a trend known as underemployment. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, fewer companies plan to hire new grads this summer compared to last fall. And recent figures from the Department of Labor also shows finding a job may all come down to what you studied. Nursing or health science grads are still in demand, but engineering and computer science gigs, well, not so much. It does help if you have experience with AI. Now, I spoke to one bioengineering PhD grad who says he's steering clear of the big firms, at least for now.
Spend the next months in my current lab while looking for jobs. I'm looking for startup opportunities. Startups could be more flexible, and also, you know, big companies, they're kind of have a hiring freeze, especially for international students. So it's kind of hard to find them.
The National Association of Colleges and Employers also shows that a lot of these companies right now, they're not looking at GPA, but rather focusing and prioritizing skill set. So going back to that conversation I had with the professor here, she tells me don't set your heart, don't set your mind on landing that dream job. Rather, more so focus on just getting your foot in the door, building that necessary experience, but also be prepared to pivot.
All right, Wegovy has been in the news a lot, and a clinical trial has found Wegovy successfully treated a serious form of liver disease in about 2/3 of patients. The disease is called metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. I think the acronym for that is MASH. It was previously known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It affects about 33% of adults in the U.S. Fox Medical Team's Dr. Mike joins us now. Dr. Mike, first of all, I am excited for the opportunity to talk to you for my first time. And let's cross a few roads here. What is this type of liver disease, and how can this weight loss drug help?
Well, first of all, I am going to address you as Big Mike, because I'm Mike and you're Big Mike. All right.
Perfect.
Now, Big Mike. All right, now, here's what I want to do. I want to go to Bob here. Pretend this is a weather map. All right, okay. Now, this is the liver here. All right, and what happens is we're having a front come in of fat in that liver.
Okay.
All right, that's called fatty liver. And you get that from being obese. You get it from drinking too much alcohol. That's alcoholic steatohepatitis. But this drug, Wegovy, actually reduces the fat content in the liver. And so, if you will, it's almost like a clearing, if you will, of the fat in the liver. And then Mr. Liver's happy, a lot of sunshine, all right? And so what happens with that Wegovy, it gets rid of the fat. About 20% of people that have fatty liver will develop cirrhosis. So we don't want that.
Right.
All right? And so that's what that drug does. Yet another study, Big Mike, of how this works. These medications reduce inflammation, and they also allow blood sugars to go down, and also you lose weight. So it's a win-win-win situation.
That's fabulous. All right, speaking of win-win, how about this? Sudden cardiac arrest remains one of the most deadly health events in the U.S. It claims almost 500,000 lives each year. But there is some new research, Dr. Mike, that suggests that drinking champagne and white wine can help lower the risk. Now, look, back in my college days, Dr. Mike, I had a lot of benefits from white wine and champagne, but I don't think they had anything to do with health.
They didn't. Probably not. Although, Big Mike, if you're in college and you're drinking champagne, that means you're top shelf. So in your social life,
aim high, baby.
It would have
aim
helped
high.
you. Yes. And look, white wine it's a big plus. All right. Okay. So when you think about it, it's like a perfect storm. Okay, if you have the white wine and the champagne, the studies show, now it's not a cause and effect, it's an association that people who drank that had lower risk of sudden cardiac death. Now, could it be that, like you in college, you went top shelf, you took better care of yourself, you ate better food? And you're a snag, right? You're a sensitive new age guy. So what you would do, you probably prepared dinner for an evening with your date. I can only imagine. And you would have all of this cuisine and you would serve champagne. Oh my God. All right. So you get that all together, and people that drink champagne probably take better care of themselves, get more sleep, that sort of thing, and exercise more. And so they have a lower risk of heart disease, like sudden cardiac death. That's
fantastic. Dr. Mike, I'm a snag, and I'm telling you, nothing goes better with a banquet Salisbury steak TV dinner than a nice bottle of champagne.
You're trading sand for a beautiful city skyline when you head on this ship. We're on Victory 2 with Victory Cruise Line. I am with John. You're the founder and CEO.
Yes, founder and CEO.
And this is a different kind of cruise because first you're leaving out of historic Navy Pier.
Yes.
And you're the only cruise line that's able to do so to explore our Great Lakes. What is this like?
It's great. I mean, to dock here at Navy Pier and see the skyline and, do everything in advance, go shopping on Michigan Avenue, take a tour of downtown. It's wonderful. And, what better feeling than to be on a cruise ship and depart at dinner while you're eating dinner and come up on the sun deck and watch the Chicago skyline.
This is the inaugural season for Victory 2 and Victory 1 that leaves out of Toronto. What kind of trip is this for folks at home who are not familiar?
Yeah, so I mean, it's we call it edutainment. We try and give you some education, entertain you at the same time, but it's really to explore everything that our nation has to offer. I mean, so many of us have traveled all around the world, but there's places, as you were mentioning earlier, Lake Superior, Sturgeon Bay, Door County, that people have never seen. The Thousand Islands. I mean, how pretty. Bolt Castle, Singer Castle. And you get to see so many things. And then you can take our St. Lawrence Seaway trip and go to Montreal and Quebec, and it's like going to Europe without ever leaving North America.
And when you're en route, you're also having some comfortable living for these 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Come into my stateroom. Here's 302. This is the owner's stateroom. We have 5 categories of stateroom, whether it's the owner's suite or whether it's a king suite, inside or outside, or whether it's on deck 4. We have a little veranda outside, a table, 2 chairs, get to sit with your glass of wine and watch the world go by.
Oh, okay. So when you're inside here, you know, and you're outside your room and you're still wanting to socialize, there's plenty of activities to do on the ship.
Always plenty of activities. You know, bands every night, dancing, line dancing. They tried to teach us how to line dance the other day. And then, you know, like a Carole King night. And so lots of entertainment, and the food. The food is just unbelievably good.
Are there still tickets available for this inaugural season?
Still some tickets available. We're filling up fast. But yeah, just go to our website, victorycruiselines.com. You can call our reservation center. We'll give us a credit card and you're good to go.
Coming up, the latest real estate advice for buyers and sellers, building excitement over the newest season of Lego Masters. And we end the week with some laughs from Bill Bellamy.
Lou, what you doing?
Hey, Caitlin, I'm looking for this stream everyone's talking about.
Fox Local?
Yeah.
Get me. App Store, download Fox Local, open it, pick Chicago, boom.
Oh, that was easy. Hey, Paris. Hey, I got this stream on my phone finally.
I'm on there.
Everyone's on this thing.
Now you can watch Paris on Politics anytime, anywhere.
Hey, Anita, I'm on Fox Local.
I know, Lou. I watch you on Bears Blitz on Fox Local.
Fox Local. This is big stuff.
Glad I could help.
Fox 32 Chicago. For breaking news and big events, turn us on.
Great to see our Bears fans here.
Covering the action live.
And we'll take Colston Loveland.
Oh, wow. On air and Fox Local.
This was a major bombshell.
Severe thunderstorm warning is remaining in effect.
When news happens, turn to Fox 32 Chicago. Kick back, catch up with Fox Local Weekends. Relive our best stories of the week. You gotta see it. Watch anytime. Weekends at Fox 32 on Fox Local.
All right, the weather's heating up today. Spring home buying season is also heating up, and depending on location, it continues to be a strong seller's market, with many properties selling just days after being listed and for well above asking price. But if you are selling, are you still leaving money on the table? Amanda Pendleton, who is a home trends expert with Zillow, joins us with why the answer is oftentimes yes for these sellers. Amanda, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So what are the common mistakes that sellers are making in this market?
Sellers are making. Well, the first thing they've got to do is they got to time the market right. And the best time to list in Chicago actually starts next week. If you list your home for sale in the last 2 weeks of May, you could sell it for 3% more, which adds up to nearly $10,000 on a typical Chicago home.
So get those homes listed ASAP if you're thinking about doing it.
Right.
What is it about the last 2 weeks in May?
You're getting a lot of buyers who've been in the market all spring. They're starting to look at the calendar. They realize that, okay, Memorial Day's around the corner, summer vacation's coming up, the school year is going to start, so they're ready to act.
Okay. We've heard about curb appeal. You talk about something called screen appeal.
Screen appeal is the new curb appeal.
Okay.
Buyers are making their first impression online, and they're actually willing to pay a bit more for homes that have that complete immersive media package. So we did a bit of research. We looked at Zillow Showcase listings. These are listings that have bigger, high-resolution images. They've got 3D home tours. They've got interactive
It almost looks like a drone is guiding you through. Yeah.
We found those homes sold for 2% more. So it pays to invest in screen appeal.
Wow, it really does. And just packaging it so nicely for people who are online shopping as it is, that really goes a long way, huh?
Absolutely. And you also want to kind of maximize exposure too.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that your agent is listing your home on the multiple listing service, the MLS. Now, that's going to get your listing in front of millions of home shoppers, and it's going to maximize your sale price.
More eyeballs.
More eyeballs. Some agents may tell you, hey, maybe we list your home as a private exclusive. Here's the secret. That benefits the agent, doesn't benefit you as the seller. And the data here is really clear. Chicago homes that sell off the MLS sell for $6,600 less than homes that sell on the MLS.
Okay, how about choosing which aspects of the home or property to really put forward in that screen appeal?
Yeah, you want to be flaunting the right features. So modern farmhouse style is out. Organic modernism is in. So what is that? This is design that's sort of based on nature. So think a lot of woods, natural stone. If you've got things like soapstone countertops or you've got white oak flooring or walnut cabinets, you want to mention that in your listing description because those homes could sell for as much as 3.5% more.
Okay, so you got to know what features to flaunt there. All right, before we go, and I was telling you in the break, most of our segments these days are focused on the buyer. Yeah. I do want to ask you about buyers in this last 2 weeks in May, this little window. What is your advice for buyers out there who have been having a hard time, you know, making a competitive offer, getting that offer accepted?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, 3 things for buyers. The first thing, get your financial ducks in a row. You got to make sure you're improving your credit score, your debt to income ratio, your savings. Put yourself in a stronger position to buy. Second thing, understand how much home you can actually afford. There's an easy way to do this. On the Zillow app, we've got a tool called Buyability. Put in your personal information, and it will show you exactly what you can afford in real time. So as mortgage rates change, you're going to see more homes enter your Buyability when rates come down. So it's a good way to keep track of rates. And then assemble a great team. You got to do your research and hire a great agent, great loan officer. So look at client reviews. Interview your top candidates. A great team will give you a competitive advantage as a buyer.
Take a good look at your screen and prepare to be dazzled. A new season of LEGO Masters is set to premiere on Monday. Like every season, it features a group of LEGO enthusiasts competing to win $100,000. And there's just a few things you could do with that. 2 of the competitors include a mother and son duo out of Barrington. So you know we had to ask for them to come into the show here. The competitors, Anne and Luke Horwath. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
We were just saying, you know, there's a lot of energy on this set, but you have a lot of things on your plate right now, sir.
That's right, that's right. So not only am I fully involved with LEGO projects in my free time, now we've got LEGO Masters coming out. I'm graduating from the University of Notre Dame with a degree in mechanical engineering.
Just
it's a very, very busy time of the year, that's right.
Yeah, so what would you all do with the $100,000?
Yeah, so I love building LEGO and I love sharing that with others. So we would go on a tour to schools across the country, sharing our passion for creativity, hopefully inspiring other kids and parents even of all ages to pursue their passions.
What a wonderful way of thinking of giving back. I was just like student loans, pay them off. Okay, so how was the experience working on the show?
It was incredible. First off, I think it was a dream come true. Luke's been a builder since he was a toddler, and then to have this experience with my young adult son, experiencing the color, the imagery, the creativity, and the builders. It was fabulous.
Yeah. Okay, walk me through what we have here, because what we're seeing on the show is a piece of the pie, just like this came in many, many pieces.
Yes, that's exactly right. Brick by brick, as I like to say. And so here we've got a few of my sculptures that I've worked on in recent years. We have Stuart the Minion, one of my favorite characters in all of pop culture. We have Garfield the cat, a little bit of a sleepy expression, very characteristic for him. And then, of course, Gary the snail, because we all love a good SpongeBob reference, too. And just a couple characters, some bright colors, bright characters, a little bit different. I do a lot of mechanized builds and motorized creations, but wanted to diversify the portfolio a little bit and decided to bring these guys along for today.
Well, you've done very well.
Thank you.
And how long did these take?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I build all of these just from my mind. No computer software or pre-planning ahead of time, just getting the bricks and building them. Each of these took about a month, from initial conception to ordering pieces to finally having them in real-life physical form.
All right, so for those of us who don't have a mechanical engineering brain, where do you start?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question.
Brick by brick?
Yeah, brick by brick. So planning out pieces, I do a lot of sketching. My engineering classes have prepared me very well to do technical sketching and drawing, planning out parts lists, things like that, getting the pieces eventually ordered. And then it's a lot of just hands-on prototyping, building, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. It's a very iterative process and just going from there up until I have something that I'm happy with.
Well, we're very happy with the outcome of these.
Thank you.
We certainly couldn't have done them ourselves. Tell us, if somebody wants to follow in your footsteps, even on this show, what do they need to know?
Well, the time to start is now. If you're a young builder, this may not be where you begin. Go ahead, start with a set. Start with a friend, start with a parent or a guardian. Have some fun and play, build, take it apart, and build it again and make something that's your own.
Yeah, have some fun, and maybe you'll find a mechanical engineering brain along the way.
Absolutely.
Mom, how many of these Legos have you stepped on and it cursed the day?
There have been stories. There have been stories. But it's lovely that it is such an engaging brick and system that allows the imagination to really run wild.
If you're looking for something that's going to make you laugh, how about checking out the top billing comedy tour? Actor and comedian and Mr. Everything, Bill Bellamy, is performing at Chicago Improv in Schaumburg this weekend. And joining me now is a good friend of Good Day Chicago, Bill Bellamy. Thanks so much for being here.
Brian, thank you for having me, man. This is cool. Man, y'all got the fly chairs. You know, y'all got money.
Nice, man. Just like in the basement, right?
Yeah, this is the one we used to watch movies with when we was little.
Always good for a good laugh.
Yes.
You've been here to Chicago many
times, yes.
What's different about performing here compared to other cities?
What I love about Chicago is that comedy and music is infused in the city. And the fans come out, like Beyonce's in town, Bill Bellamy's in town, they got the NBA Combine in town. Like, everyone comes here and the energy is always good. And the people come out to have a good time.
And speaking of a good time, you got the comedy tour happening this weekend. What can our fans expect for that?
Well, first and foremost, it's a lot of hot topics right now, so y'all got to know.
It's a family show now.
It's going to be an amazing show of laughter. There's so many things that I'm talking about, from relationship stuff to things that's going on in the media. You know, there's a lot of smoke right now. So if you come, you just bring tissue.
They're gonna get all the smoke at the show.
Bill is so crazy.
You're always good energy up. Outside of the tour, what else have you been up to these days?
I'm relaunching my second season of Top Billing.
Okay.
We are going to have some really great guests, new location, new vibes. Number 3, my book is out, Top Billing, Stories of Laughter.
We got it here.
So that's my memoir, which is really a great sort of like take of my life, where you get a chance to see the ups, the downs, the funny, the crazy, the oh my God. You know, moments that I didn't get a chance to share with a lot of people, I saved for the book. And I did the audiobook in my voice.
Oh.
See, I didn't want you to be like listening to my story and it's Morgan Freeman.
You got to put on, you know, the right emphasis on certain stories.
Yes, sir.
When you're putting together this book, was there maybe 1 or 2 stories that you hadn't thought about in a while that kind of brought back a good smile for you?
One of the craziest fun stories I tell in the book was when I was on tour with Janet Jackson, and she had this big dog. And I almost ran over her dog, like by mistake, backing out. And I was just thinking, like, how do you get a 10-year-old Cocker Spaniel and give him a name? Like, we was thinking, like, what we would have had to do to flip, like, get her another dog, train him so he responds to the right name. But that was one good one. Another story is in there was the first time I met Prince.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know he was that small.
Story, right.
I didn't know Prince, Mr. Roger Nelson, was so tiny. But he had cute little boots on. It was nice blue, and they had little blinking lights in the heels.
They said he about, what, 5'2"?
Tops. Tops.
Also, we found out that you're an empty nester now.
Yes,
these
sir.
Days.
Yeah.
What are the advantages or disadvantages of that?
When you're an empty nester, like my wife and I, like, we had to find stuff that to do to compensate for what we don't do no more.
Okay.
Like, no more carpool. We don't have to get up so early, like, you know, but we do more stuff together. Like when we first started, you know, dating and stuff. We go to the park, we go to the beach, we do lunches, we do, you know, matinee movies again, because we don't have to do stuff for the kids. So it's fun, though.
It's almost like you're kind of dating all over.
Yeah, you're starting all over.
All right, where can people find the show this weekend?
This weekend, I will be at the Chicago Improv. It's going to be so fun. I got a lot of special guests coming in town just for you guys. And Brian's coming.
I'll be there.
Thanks for watching the Fox 32 Chicago Week in Review. See you again next week.
I spent the last 20 years helping restaurants, but the moment they know I'm coming, they cover their tracks. Not this time. Camera 9, zoom in. That is one fat rat. I have an insider. There's the bacteria. Stop cooking. This restaurant is closed.
It's usually not good if he's walking to the door.
This could be something spectacular. Can you accept change? Oh, boy.
Gordon Ramsay's Secret Service premieres Wednesday, May 21st on Fox.
I don't think I'm going to have any issue portraying anybody in this game.
I'm going to do my best to act with integrity.
You're as cold as ice.
Each week, you will compete to become the snake, the most powerful position in the game.
I will pick you over anyone else.
I trust you, I trust Jack.
Sometimes you throw the grenade and walk away.
You guys are gonna need me. Who's gonna need you?
You're as cold as ice. God's watching you right now and praying that you burn.
The Snake series premiere Tuesday, June 10th on